Hi, class. We're going to talk about feedback loops now, positive and negative feedback loops. Now, most of the feedback loops in the body are going to be negative feedback loops. Very few of them are positive feedback loops. When I think of these feedback loops, most people can make the connection to a thermostat, right? You may have a thermostat in your home and it'll say, like, 80 and then 70 and then 60 and then 50. These are the older thermostats. And let's say most people have it set somewhere around, let's say right here, let's say it's 72 degrees. Now, let's say it is 75 degrees in the person's house. Now the AC kicks on, the air conditioner kicks on because it's 75 degrees. Then it becomes 74 degrees, 73 degrees. If we have it set at 72, when it hits 72, boom, it shuts off. If it goes to 73 degrees and it gets warmer, the AC kicks on again, boom, till it hits 72 and it shuts off. So that's a negative feedback loop. A negative feedback loop would be when you're exercising and you get warm, so you start perspiring to sweat to cool you off. A negative feedback loop would be you consume pasta, Coca-Cola, bread and butter, and pasta, and all of a sudden your blood sugar goes way up. Then your pancreas says, hey, we got to lower this. So your pancreas pushes out insulin to try and lower your blood sugar. Again, negative feedback loop. Positive feedback loop would be in more of like life-threatening situations. One that comes to mind is pregnancy and labor. So when a woman is pregnant and she's in labor and having contractions, well, the hypothalamus is pushing out oxytocin. And remember, the oxytocin is going to the myometrium of the uterus and making it contract. And the woman is experiencing pain. So, ouch, she says. Okay. And when she says ouch, you would think that maybe the brain would say, hey, you know what? I feel a little bit bad. She's uncomfortable. Let's try and decrease oxytocin so she's not feeling that much discomfort during labor, and we can minimize the contractions to the myometrium. But no, more hormone, more pain. More pain, the feedback goes back to the hypothalamus, and the hypothalamus says more oxytocin to the uterus, to the myometrium, more hormone, more contraction, more pain, more positive signal, more positive production. It keeps on bringing out the same effect. It's not doing the opposite like negative feedback loop. It keeps on bringing more hormone, more contraction, more hormone, more pain, more contraction, more hormone, more pain, more contraction until the baby's delivered. Okay, that is a um, positive feedback loop. Now, there are some other feedback loops that take place that could be also very destructive and life threatening. So let's take a look and say, okay, here is the lumen of a blood vessel, and that's the inner part. Let's then say we have a middle part, that's smooth muscle. And then we'll put the outer part of the blood vessel. Let's say that's red. We'll put that here. So blood vessels have three main parts to it. This black dotted line right here, we'll call that the tunica tunica interna, then there's a tunica media, which is the middle, and then there's a tunica externa, which is the outside. The tunica interna, this black dotted line right here, it's endothelial, it's epithelium, it's one cell layer. It's very prone to damage, and blood is traveling through here. The tunica media is also known as the tunica musculosa because this is smooth muscle. This can constrict and dilate. And then the tunica externa, this outer layer, also known as the tunica adventitia, it's elastic layer. Now, the layer that's most easily damaged is this tunica interna. This can be easily damaged. And what can damage it? Fried foods, high blood sugar, antibiotics, steroids, alcohol, drugs, smoking, fried foods, high blood sugar, that can damage the endothelial lining. So what ends up happening is the musculosa layer, this layer, starts to invade and it works its way in to that lumen. Okay, it moves in. Now, if you think of what's in blood, we have cholesterol, LDL cholesterol, low density lipoproteins, high density lipoproteins. We have good cholesterol, the so-called bad cholesterol. We have good cholesterol. They're both good. It's just LDLs get a bad rap when they get oxidized. So, although the LDL cholesterol is needed to make estrogen, testosterone, all of your sex hormones, we need the LDL, but it can get damaged, it can get oxidized. We'll put an X there. So, if you have that good cholesterol, the LDL cholesterol, but you're smoking, you have high blood sugar, antibiotic overuse, steroid overuse, corticosteroids, um, the good cholesterol, the LDL, get damaged. Now, when it gets damaged, the cholesterol doesn't accumulate in the lumen like a lot of people think. The cholesterol goes back here. So we'll put these X's. The cholesterol, when it's here in blood, it finds its way to sneak in through these gaps, and the LDL cholesterol hangs out back here. Not in the lumen, it's between the muscle and the endothelial. And when the cholesterol is here and it starts to accumulate, what ends up happening is you get this bulging effect of this bad cholesterol, and your immune system walls it off. It walls it off to protect it. And this pooling that happens that you see like this, now what happens to the lumen where blood is, now instead of being nice and round like it first started like this, now we have this lumen that's about that big. So this diameter for blood to flow through is nice and thick. Now blood is flowing through this space. As the blood is squeezing through here, the blood is quite turbulent. When you have turbulent blood flow, your body thinks you got shot or stabbed and you're losing blood. It's turbulent. So as it's turbulent, your body's going to lay down these clotting proteins, and it's going to create fibrin, which are these clotting proteins, and it's just going to keep laying down, and laying down these clotting proteins as a positive feedback loop. It keeps laying them down, to stop the bleeding, because remember, it thinks you got shot because it's turbulent, and it only stops It's continuous feedback of producing more fibrin, more fibrin, more fibrin, more clotting, more clotting, more clotting, more oxytocin, right? Oxytocin, oxytocin, more pain, more contraction, more pain, more contraction, only stops when the baby comes out. This clotting, this fibrin production only stops when a clot is actually formed. If this is a blood vessel that was going to the heart and you have a blockage there and blood can't bypass that and it clots, you get a heart attack. If it's up in the brain, you have a stroke. So those are some positive feedback loops that can actually damage and kill someone.